How did India, a nation historically renowned for its staggering wealth and varied industries, suddenly become so destitute? I mean, how did it become a landscape defined by devastating famine and poverty? We are jumping right into this paradox today.
Right. To really understand the roles at play here, we are exploring an Essential Insights review of The Case for India by Will Durant. Our mission is to extract the core mechanisms of imperialism and resistance from this text, giving you the critical facts without the fluff.
And, before we dive into that, you're experiencing a unique two-voice conversation powered by Google's Notebook LM for deeper book analysis, presented by Mindful Moments. Nourish your mind on the go. So let us start with the economic reality. The text argues that British rule was not a benevolent civilizing mission. It was a highly calculated economic drain.
Precisely. Durant details how domestic industries were systematically dismantled. I mean, it was not an accident of the free market. The British flooded India with cheap machine-made textiles bearing zero import duties.
Wow, zero duties. That is wild.
Yeah, and simultaneously, they slapped massive export taxes on Indian-made goods. So those native weavers, they could not sell their products abroad. This mathematically forced native artisans out of their traditional roles and just out of business entirely.
Think of it this way. Say you run a highly successful local bakery. Suddenly, an overseas corporation takes over your town's government. They make it illegal for you to buy local flour, and they force everyone in town to buy their imported bread. I mean, would you call that relationship a partnership?
Definitely not.
Right. As the author explains, Indian citizens were barred from self-defense in their own market.
Exactly. The underlying mechanism was pure wealth extraction. The book calculates that millions of dollars were drained annually to fund British pensions and salaries.
Millions.
Millions, every single year. This direct pipeline of capital transformed a prosperous manufacturing hub into, well, a starved agricultural colony. The poverty was a feature of the system.
Not a bug. And exploring these underlying systems is exactly what we do here. This is Mindful Moments, where we turn powerful books into clear, rational conversations for readers, students, and educators. Which brings us to the radical response to this economic trap, the role of Gandhi.
Right. The author outlines Gandhi's strategy of non-cooperation. And this went far beyond simple boycotts. Gandhi advocated for a complete rejection of Western industrialism. He viewed the abandonment of railways and even modern medicine as a moral necessity.
Wait, rejecting modern medicine? I understand boycotting textiles, but how does letting people get sick achieve political freedom? That sounds incredibly extreme.
It does seem extreme at first glance. But applying Mortimer Adler's framework, if we move from the basic information of Gandhi's spinning wheel to the wisdom of his approach, we see his ultimate goal. It was absolute spiritual and economic self-reliance.
Oh, I see. He saw the colonizers' machinery as the actual engine of exploitation.
Exactly. According to this argument, participating in their medical or transit systems meant remaining permanently dependent on the empire. His role was to break that dependency.
So the spinning wheel was not just about making clothes. It was a tool to sever the economic umbilical cord. But, if the British were purely extracting wealth, how do we explain the massive railway systems and modern infrastructure they left behind? Let us look at the imperial defense.
The author details the British counter-argument at length. The imperial defense claims that British engineers added 20 million acres of cultivable land through new irrigation channels. The text also asserts that prior to British rule, India was a fragmented collection of warring states.
Okay, so they claim they brought stability.
Right. The British introduced a unifying legal code and built that vast railway network we mentioned earlier.
But we have to question the primary beneficiary of that progress. Does building a train network justify political subjugation if the trains are primarily there to haul away your resources?
The book strongly implies that those railways were strategically designed to transport extracted wealth to the ports and to move military troops inland quickly. The infrastructure served the empire first. Any benefit to the local population was a secondary byproduct.
This entire debate over infrastructure versus exploitation leaves us with a fascinating unresolved question. If a colonized nation is forced to adopt the infrastructure and political systems of its occupier, what happens the day the occupier leaves?
Right. Does that foreign framework become a foundation for a new state or an invisible cage that prevents true cultural independence? That paradox is definitely worth your time to explore.
Absolutely. And if these initial concepts resonate with you, I highly recommend going deeper. The analysis review examines the argument's construction. The summary maps the book's structure, and the critique puts Durant's vision under severe pressure. Click the link on screen for the related episodes. Essential Insights, Summary, Analysis, Critique, or Deep Critique. Subscribe, share, purchase via the link if you would like to read along and think rationally. See the many genre-based book podcasts at Mindful Moments and nourish your mind on the go.